On this episode of This is Game Boy Lite, what would you do if you had 3 days to live? Hello everybody and welcome back to another brand new episode of This is Game Boy Lite, the little in-between episodes that we do where it's just me or Peltic. And I guess you guys were expecting a full episode, but I think I mentioned during the last Lite that there would be another Lite coming your way because, well, we're in the holiday season right now, so it's a little bit harder to actually get set up to record with the two of us. So we're kind of taking a break, I would say, and I'm just doing two lights. And like Baltic did two lights before when I got a little bit sick, so it kind of balances out, I guess. Anyways, first of all, for all of you who are not from Japan, Happy New Year! This is the first episode we're releasing in the new year. I think it was like 2 days ago that it was New Year. So hope you all had some fun holidays, got some great presents, celebrated very well, and hopefully you didn't get too drunk, so you started the new year in a good way. So what have I been up to? At the moment, it's still not Christmas for me. It's like the weekend before Christmas, but it is, of course, a very busy period, so I haven't been playing that many Game Boy games either, or games in general. Finally managed to finish the story mode of Metal Gear Solid 5, which leaves a lot hanging. I guess not a lot of things get well rounded up there in the end, except for like the big spoiler. I'm not gonna say it if you haven't played it yet, but I knew what it was already, but it was still fun to see how they managed to get that in the story. Sadly, it leaves a lot open with what happens to Eli and the Sahelanthropus and Psycho Mantis. So sadly, the final mission 51 never got released, but you can find either if you have the Blu-ray from the special edition or the collector's edition from Metal Gear Solid 5, or you can just YouTube it. You can watch some scenes, and it kind of brings that all together as well. Kind of sad that that one never got released, but hey, what you're gonna do? Thanks Konami, I guess. Besides that, I played a few Game Boy games. I've been diving into Cave Noir, which is a Japanese-only roguelite dungeon crawler. That's something you don't find on Game Boy that much. I think this might be the only one of its kind, actually. And it is pretty good. It's a little bit bare bones, but if you like roguelike games like Binding of Isaac or what's the other one I always play? Enter the Gungeon, things like that. You might be very interested in this as well. Like I said, it's pretty much bare bones. Like, my problem with the game is that it doesn't feel like I'm progressing much throughout the game, which is normal for a roguelite, but or roguelike. I still have no idea what the difference between those is. But yeah, it feels like you never unlock anything to help you out better in later dungeons and things like that. So I feel like it's lacking in that department, and it makes it very hard to do some of the later quote-unquote missions you have to do. But yeah, if you're interested in that, definitely check it out. There is a fan translation. You do not need it per se. It's pretty clear what you can do, but if you do want to get some English in there, definitely get that fan translation. After that, I checked out a game called Harimanada. I guess that's how you pronounce it, which is based on it's also a Japanese game, by the way. It's based on a Japanese anime, which is about a sumo wrestler. we're still not really clear what you have to do in that game. Like, it's always just sumo bouts, of course, but there is like a way to progress through the quote-unquote story. I think Baltic found out that it's like you have to do a certain like you can choose a position when you go into a bout, and you have to pick the third one, and then if you defeat your opponent, you actually progress. Like, you can win cups, and it keeps going and going. I played it for about 50 minutes, I think, and yeah, it just kept going, so I'm not clear if there's an ending or anything like that. There definitely are game overs, so if you lose too much, you actually do game over. And there are passwords so you can continue, but yeah, it's totally in Japanese, so I'm not really clear on how to enter those. But yeah, I gave up after 50 minutes. I didn't see it getting harder. I didn't see it getting different. And I didn't really get what I had to do to progress anyway. So yeah, I just left it at that. So Baltic is researching this game. If he might find out that there is an ending, I'll go back to it. But yeah, for me, this game is pretty much done. It wasn't even on my list of games to play for portable pleasure, because I thought it was probably, when I like researched it at first, like there wasn't information about it, so I thought like this is probably unbeatable if you don't know Japanese. So but yeah, I checked it out anyway. So besides that, I also played the Japanese version of Double Dragon 2. Baltic recommended that game. He found it. He said it's like a River City Ransom. But yeah, when I was playing it, I was like, oh, this actually kind of looks familiar. And Lex was in my chat, and she was like, oh, hey, this is actually just Double Dragon 2 for Europe and America. But it's just a reskin, which is not completely true. The mechanics are a little bit different in the Japanese version. I don't know the name. It's something with Neketetsu or something. It's like a really long name. But yeah, it uses the graphics from the Kunio series for sure, like River City Ransom is. But yeah, it plays a little bit different. There are some different graphics. There's definitely another OST for it, which doesn't resemble the Western release. There are some other bosses that are actually a lot harder than the ones in the Western release of it. So I kind of counted it as a different game. It was different enough to be like, you know what, this is a totally separate entry for the Game Boy library. And it also has its unique DMG code, which is, the DMG code is basically what we use to see if a game is like an exact copy or not, or that it's a completely different game. And yeah, for this one, it definitely feels like a different game, even though the main principle is exactly the same. Again, this this version only came out in Japan, but again, there is a fan translation available. Not that you need it, because of course it's just a beat 'em up. So besides the initial cutscene there is no need basically for a translation. But yeah, it's just about like your girlfriend gets kidnapped and you have to go save her. That's pretty much it. But yeah, that's basically all I've been playing besides the game I'm going to be talking about today, which is Deadeus. And probably nobody has ever heard of this before except for a few people. And that's because this isn't like an original Game Boy game. Not in the sense that it's an official Game Boy game, let me say it like that. But it's actually a homebrew game that recently came out, and I really liked playing through it, so I wanted to talk a little bit more about it. And I'm not gonna go into very much detail about the actual game and the gameplay, besides like the standard overview of what it is. Because I don't want to spoil the game at all. I think it's definitely something that you have to check out for yourself, but I do want to give you the setting, what it is. And besides just talking about that, I actually reached out to the person who made this game, and he was kind enough to answer a few questions about the game. So you get that instead. You get a little interview with that person instead, and not just like a normal episode where we just completely go through a game and pretty much spoil everything. So yeah, hope you're excited for that, because I'll be talking about it right after this break song. Be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that little break song, which hopefully was from the game Deadeus. So yeah, like I said, Deadeus is actually a homebrew game. I did a light on homebrew games quite a while ago. I think it's almost a year ago, actually, because back then I was actually beta testing Diamaze for Freeball, and yeah, it's always fun to like find these new Game Boy games that people made in their spare time, and yeah, this is a really unique one. So I definitely wanted to talk about it a little bit more. So when it comes to the release date, I think the initial version came out in August 2019, as far as I can see from the development log. So it's been around for a few months, but it wasn't like very well known. And as far as I know, this is a game that stems from the Game Boy Jam, the latest one. That then got made into a full-fledged game, basically. It was developed or made by a person who goes by the name of Isma on the internet. His actual name is Adam Birch. And he's basically a graphical designer from Wales, I believe. Definitely from the UK. I'm not sure if he's actually from Wales, but he definitely graduated from the University of Wales with a bachelor, I believe, in illustration. Since then, he has gone to work on comics, concept art, motion graphics, and band merchandise. And he moved to South Florida a few years ago. I think he's actually visiting the UK right now again. I think I saw that on his Twitter. But yeah, Isma has made comic books. He released some books of his own, like his third book, Creaking Guts: The Black and White Art of Isma, just came out. So if you're interested in some art books, definitely go check it out. I'm sure you can find them somewhere. And if you want some more information about Isma, you can always go to his website, which is ismaillustration.com. And Isma is YZ or Z, depending on which English you use, MA. So IZMA. So yeah, going further a little bit into it, the publisher, of course, is the same person. It's also Isma. And the music for this game was composed by Stuart Busby. I didn't find a lot of information about it, but I did find that there were a lot of Stuart Busbys on the internet. If you want to look for the correct one, he also goes by the name of Stu, which is Stoo. So that is the composer of the music for this game. Let's dive a little bit into what this game actually is. It's actually a horror game for Game Boy. Like, probably the only actual horror game for Game Boy. I know in the past I talked a little bit about like Halloween themed games, like the Addams Family and Dr. Franken and things like that. But there isn't an actual like horror game in the veins of like Resident Evil or Silent Hill or any of those on Game Boy. So now we have one. So that is absolutely amazing. So what is this game about? Let me dive into the plot real quick. A young boy's nightmare gets haunted by an unknown creature that warns him of its coming and the demise of his entire village after 3 days have passed. After waking, he notices that the behavior of the townspeople seems to be off, and he slowly discovers the hidden story of the town while going about his everyday life. Will the young lad be able to stop the impending doom, or is it too late already? So yeah, that's briefly what this game is about. Like I said earlier, I'm not gonna go into any spoilers of this game, but I do want to talk a little bit about how the game plays out. Basically, the gameplay in yeah, by itself is basically a top-down exploration slash adventure game. When I talk about adventure games, I mostly think about games definitely like Zelda, but Zelda is a little bit more action orientated. But for me, adventure games are mostly like games where you just go from place to place, you talk to people, you gain information about what you need to do. You can get some items that will help you on the way, and that is pretty much it. That's at least in my opinion, I think it's an adventure game. Just think about like the old adventure games on DOS, like Space Quest and King's Quest, Monkey Island, things like that. That's basically what I believe is an adventure game. Those are point and click adventure games, of course, but let's just go into the NES library real quick with Monster Mansion, for example, where you don't actually have a mouse, of course, but just a controller. So yeah, the main character is able to travel across the town, pick up items, interact with all the residents in town, and by talking to the inhabitants of the village, the player actually slowly discovers the truth about the nightmares, what's been going on, and you have to decide on your own whether you are gonna take action to prevent what's gonna happen, or that you are just gonna accept actually the cruel fate that has bestowed upon you. So yeah, this is a really cool concept because it is not just a game you play through and when you reach the ending you are done. Your actions or decisions actually decide how the rest of the game unfolds, and that can result into achieving 11 different endings. So it's not just only a horror game, but it's also like a choose your own adventure game in that regard. Like going back to like Silent Hill, for example, there are also ways to get different endings in that game. Kind of takes away from that, but there it's a little bit more confined. In this, like a lot about the story actually changes depending on how you go about with doing what you want to do. So yeah, like I said, there are 11 different outcomes for this game. So far, I have been able to find 6 out of 11, so I'm doing pretty well, I guess. And I'm really trying to figure out all the endings on my own without any spoilers. But I'm kind of running out of ideas on what to do, so maybe maybe I won't be able to find them all anyways. I'm not gonna say what these endings are at all. I really feel like you should definitely check it out for yourself. It is a Game Boy game, so it's not a super long game or anything. Like, I'll definitely post a link to my initial playthrough in like the description of this this episode. But yeah, I would say it's like an hour and a half game the first time you play, depending, of course, on what you will do. Like some of the endings can be achieved in like I would say 5 minutes or even faster. But if you want to like actually explore the game and see what it has to offer, there's definitely like an hour and a half to 2 hours initial playtime to it, and afterwards, yeah, like I've been playing for 3 hours now because I'm trying to get all these different endings. I'm sure I still have like 2 hours maybe left, so that's pretty good for a Game Boy game, to be honest. Like if you don't dive into games like Link's Awakening or Metroid, like this has a lot of content for being such a small game, definitely made by one person. So it's really fun to do so, and I would definitely recommend you check it out for yourself. Of course, it is on Game Boy, so it's not super scary unless you can like really get into the zone yourself, like imagine things, because of course the Game Boy is limited when it comes to showing some graphic horror, but there are some really cool scenes in this game, and the entire setting of the story is also very unsettling. So I would definitely recommend playing this game at night or something like that, so you can get like more into the zone of playing a horror game. But yeah, besides that, that is pretty much all I can, not all I can say about the gameplay. It's just all I want to say about the gameplay. Let's say it like that, because I really don't want to spoil anything. So yeah. Let's dive a little bit into the cover art. The cover art is like an actual cover art, of course, for a Game Boy game. It's kind of hard to figure out what it is if you if you can't really make your own conclusion about it. But the cover art is basically the insides of quote-unquote person that I'm not sure about either. It has the Deadeus logo, of course, on it, and it's like kind of rendered in a Game Boy green-like color, like a little bit more flashy, of course, because the original Game Boy green is a little bit dull. But yeah, it's basically the insides of a person or creature in the background with the logo on it, and I think that explains more than enough about the game. You can see that it's gonna be a creepy game, so I don't think you need anything more else than that. If you're interested in seeing more of the art of the game, however, you can get the special edition from this game. Like, I forgot to mention this at the start, but you can download this game for free. It comes as a ROM, so you can play it on any emulator, or you can even play it on EverDrive, like I did. Like, I actually tried it out on EverDrive. So, yeah, you can definitely just get a regular edition for free, or for whatever amount of money you want to pay for it, or you can get the special edition, which is $5 and up, which comes with a lot of concept art and things like that. So you can definitely check that out, and it's very much worth it. So at least you get a little extra for contributing to the game. So I would definitely do that if I were you. So yeah, I'll definitely also post a link to where you can actually find the game, or you can just type in Deadeus Game Boy in Google. It will show up pretty fast, so it's definitely one of the top results, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. Normally we talk about trivia, but of course we don't have any trivia right now. Not really. Well, I guess the trivia will come from the interview we'll be diving into shortly. So, but yeah, reception in old and new media. Well, it's definitely new media. So I'm just gonna go over the reviews that are posted on the download page itself. So Deadeus is a masterclass in efficiency, manages to tell a big story with delightful brevity. That's from Matthew Lovehagen from Nintendo Force. IndieGamePlus.com says Deadeus offers some horrifying imagery despite the limitations of the Game Boy. Yeah, like I said, indeed. And all while offering a tangled, frightening story that will take a great deal of work to unravel. Yes, I totally agree. You do have to do some... Like, again, it's not a very long game or expanded game. Is that a word? Now it is. But yeah, in order to get all the endings, you will have to dig around for sure. So, and digitaldownloaded.com says Deadeus does a truly charming job of being sinister. Yes, it really does. It's really good. So check it out for yourself. So yeah, people are receiving this very positively. It's definitely great. Like, nothing more I can say about it. You have to check it out yourself. Definitely if you like horror games. And if you like Game Boy games, of course. Otherwise, there's no real point to playing it, I guess. No, definitely go check it out. Anyways, that's a little bit the overview of the entire Deadeus game that I can say. I hope I am pronouncing the name correctly, by the way. Like, I'm saying Deadeus, but maybe it's pronounced a little Deadeus, maybe. So my apologies if I'm pronouncing it incorrectly this entire time. But yeah, after the break, I'll dive into that little interview and maybe some of the thoughts I have on the game in general as well. Be right back. And here we are again. Hope you enjoyed that other song, hopefully from this game. I'm not sure if we can do it, but yes. So, like I said before, I actually contacted Adam Birch Isma himself to ask some questions about this game, some general questions. So let's dive into those for sure. So I think I asked 6 questions or something like that. Anyways, I'll go over them. So the first thing that I asked was like, what are your inspirations for making the game, and why did you choose the Game Boy format actually for this project? So an obvious and major inspiration that most people picked up on was Majora's Mask. I did pick up on that, yes, for sure, because of the 3D thing, definitely. So I like the setup of that game, but I didn't want it that reverting time was a solution to the problems in my game. I wanted it so that you couldn't change the choices you had made as you went. Other huge inspirations for me are ASCII Soft Tower of Heaven, Lovebread's Lisa the Painful, and everything Devolver puts out. In terms of Game Boy games I love, my top 3 are probably, and this is this is not gonna go well, the first one with my co-host, Super Mario Land 2, Metroid 2, and Dr. Mario. I chose Game Boy Studio mostly because it had just come out. Yeah, I forgot to mention this. The game was made in GB Studio, which is a free tool you can download to make your own games. So definitely check it out. Me and a few friends love the classic Game Boy stuff, so when we found this engine, we decided to jam on it. It's no secret that Deadeus was always going to be bigger than the Game Boy game, but I found a piece of the story I could shave off and make into this. It was honestly a cool bonus that the retro aesthetic and being able to play it physically worked out so well. Yeah, it really did come out amazingly. I do love the style. I love how some of the imagery got translated to a Game Boy setting. Like, again, if you buy the special edition, you can see like the concept art, and it's really cool how those things got translated to Game Boy. So it still looked pretty good for that. So that's great. So next question I asked was, you have, it's so weird to talk to yourself because I'm talking for 2 people now. But yeah, I asked, you have a graphical designer background, but did you also have any prior knowledge about making a game or specifically a Game Boy game? So Adam responded with, I actually had pretty little, but at least some. I had been working in the past on a Game Boy game inspired by Mega Man, Castlevania, and Mario in Game Maker, so I had some knowledge of the limitations from that project. project. The thing with Game Maker, as opposed to GB Studio, is that it doesn't enforce these limitations. If the game doesn't work in Game Boy Studio, then it won't run full stop, and that was fun to try and get around. I would love to go back to that original game. I still love the story, but I really don't want to make 2 Game Boy games in a row. Okay, yeah, so like the Game Boy thing was never intended, but it was just something that Isma came across and then decided to adapt his entire Deadeus storyline to. So yeah, I'm glad it happened. I'm glad I was able to to play a pretty much new Game Boy game. So yeah, that's great. So yeah, my third question: how long did it take you to make the game, and what were the difficulties during the process? So the game pretty much took 2 months straight on the nose. The original jam deadline was 1 month, and I worked flat out to hit that in my evenings from work. But when the month started to wrap up, it was becoming more apparent that this is something I could finish, so I took it a little further. As for difficulties, there were a few. The art limitations in place were a bit of a nightmare, but a nightmare I ended up loving for sure. A Game Boy screen is 160 by 144 pixels, it has a 4-color palette, and you can't have more than 192 unique 8x8 pixel tiles on one screen without breaking it. This made some of the maps a nightmare to balance out and make work. The church area especially, you will see that if you play the game. It also made the splash art segments more difficult. That's like the things you see during the cutscenes. I would draw everything exactly how I wanted it, and then find out that I am something like more than double over the space limit, so then I had to shave everything back down to make it all work. Frustrating, but fun. You can see some examples of this in the art folder of the special edition. Again, go get that special edition, guys. Another difficulty for sure is that if you are still relatively new, you shouldn't make a game with 30 plus non-playable characters that change location and script over 3 days and can be affected by variables. Everything got difficult to manage, but eventually all came out okay. So yeah, I didn't mention that, but there are a lot of characters in the game, and each have their like own little storyline depending on your actions. So I can definitely imagine how hard it would be to make sure that everything eventually works correctly. Because yeah, if you are going for 11 different endings, so all your characters have to behave differently when it comes to those variables. So yeah, for me, something like that, for me personally, I'm not talking as Isma right now. For me personally, that would be a complete mess. That's why I'm not a programmer or anything. I would just, it would just blow my mind. So yeah, the next question was, is there anything you really wanted to add to the game but wasn't able due to limitations with the format? So as Mas said, mostly more art, honestly. I had these visions of colossal scrolling screens, and as mentioned, most of that got shaved down over development time. Right now, there are a few secrets in the game. I don't think I found any of them so far, but initially I planned to include many more and have them be nearly impossible to find for most players. So yeah, that's actually really cool that there's still some, besides the endings, that there are still secrets hidden. I like looking for secrets. I love the idea of bits and pieces only some players saw and that they could excitedly tell their friends about. In the end, it proved difficult to implement, but some survived and are in there. So yeah, that's really exciting. Like, I don't think I came across any of them. Like, correct me if I'm wrong. But I do love me some secrets in my games, so yeah, I'll be sure to to dive into those as well whenever I can. First, I need to get all those endings, though. I'm never gonna be able to find them all. I feel like I'm not that great in discovering everything. Okay. On to the next question, though. Seems like you're going to expand on the universe of Deadeus. So, can we expect another Game Boy game in the future, or are you going to dive into different media or systems? So Deadeus was never supposed to be brought to Game Boy at all initially. It started as a comic I began writing around 10 years ago. Then over time that got split into smaller stories, and then it morphed into this game idea I had. But at the time I had no skills at all in game development. As mentioned above, in the end I found this, well, for me above, for you guys when I said it before. As mentioned earlier, in the end I found the smallest piece of this story, shaved it off for this small game, and it has been really exciting to see people respond to this so positively. As for another Deadeus Game Boy game, no, I don't think this is the right platform to tell the story I want to tell next. I'm still racking my brain to work out the exact right way to put it together, but I'm thinking PC is the way I'm going next. But stylistically, I will be taking heavily from the Game Boy Advance, as that system had some incredible art there. As for different media, I still want to return to the actual comic one day. Comic art is difficult. I've worked on it for a bit, and I find game development actually a little easier to express myself. But we will see. Oh yeah. Again, if you get the special edition, it's clear that this has been a project that has been going on for many years, like 10 years, like Isma says. And yeah, it's kind of cool that even though a Game Boy game wasn't part of the plan at all, we got something out of it anyway. So it's really cool, and I'm kind of interesting to see how this game, or like a revamped version of this game, or a reworked version, I guess, would be for like PC or like, yeah, Steam or whatever, or Switch. Everything is on Switch now, so I'm sure there's some possibilities there as well. But yeah, it would be cool to like to see this become a much bigger game than just this little Game Boy game. Like, I also like to see Game Boy D-makes. Like, they're never real games, but they make concept art for Game Boy D-makes and things like that. And I always really enjoy that. So it would be cool to see this go in like a different direction. So yeah, definitely looking forward to more of this. And then my final question was, do you have any advice for other people who want to make a Game Boy game with Game Boy Studio? Nisma responded with, I know this is the lamest answer ever to a question like this, but honestly, just jump in. This project ended up being a lot of fun, and it wasn't the most difficult thing in the world to put together. I think this could be a really cool step into making games for those who are new to it, and that's really exciting for me. I can't thank Chris Maltby enough for giving this engine to all of us. So yeah, Chris Maltby, excuse me, is the person who made Game Boy Studio, and yeah, like I said before, it's available on the interwebs for free. So yeah, so definitely, if you're interested in making your own Game Boy game, try that out, because could be a lot of fun. Like Baltic and Lex have been talking about making a Game Boy game as well. I might jump in for some like graphics and things like that, but besides that, I'm really not gonna bother. Like I said before, I'm not a programmer. It's all very complicated to me. I booted up GB Studio, and I was like, I have absolutely no clue what I'm doing. Like, it's just not something for me. But it would be nice to like provide some graphics at least for a project like that. So maybe in the future, you people will actually see a Game Boy game from us. So yeah, look forward to that. But yeah, thank you very much. This is weird saying it like this, but thank you very much, Isma, for answering those questions for sure. And I wish you a lot of luck with your new project, or your new not Game Boy game, your new Deadeus game. I'm definitely looking forward to that one. I didn't really dove into like my personal thoughts about this game. Besides, like when I was talking about the gameplay and things like that, I only have one real thing that, well, it's not bugging me, and I know it's probably also due to the limitations of making a game in Game Boy Studio. But the only thing that's a little bit bugging me right now, as I've like done 6 endings so far, and I'm still trying to look for the other 5 ones, is that it's not possible to like really skip dialogue or cutscenes. And that goes for every game that doesn't have it. I'm not just talking about Deadeus right now, really. But yeah, if you're looking for secrets or other endings, and you have to do the same thing over and over and over again, having an option to skip things would be absolutely great. I don't know if that is in the realm of possibility for this game. If not, whatever. But if if there could be an update on that in the future, that would be amazing, actually. Like, yeah, for people like me who are really going the long way to find everything in this game, it would be a lot easier and it would be a lot faster. But whatever. Again, it's not that big of a game, so it doesn't really matter. It's just a thought that came to mind earlier when I was looking for more endings. So, but yeah, that's pretty much all I can say about the game. Hopefully, this little interview part was very interesting to some of our listeners. Like, this is the second time we were able to get in contact with a developer of a game. Like Baltic was lucky enough to find the person who made Alien 3 for Game Boy. And yeah, I decided, like, you know what, I'm just gonna reach out to Isma and see if he wants to answer some questions, and he did. So again, thank you very much for that. Thank you very much. And everybody, go and get the game, please. Even if you don't want to pay for it, go get the game, play it, make sure other people know about it. That's pretty much the purpose of this podcast to begin with, to make people aware of games that are out there that are not well known or maybe even new, like this one. So yeah, go download Deadeus and play it yourself. After the break, I'll be saying goodbye to you all. Alright, welcome back everybody. So we normally go through the listener questions and things like that. So I did ask everybody if they had some questions, not even like for me, but maybe for Isma. But most of the response I got were like questions that I actually asked myself. So yay, I did well. So yeah, I'm just gonna fly over that part so we don't have any listener questions. Exactly. So yeah, I'm just gonna say my goodbyes here. Like always, you can find me on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube, all /Moelle, which is MOELLEUH. You can find my co-host Baltic, who is of course not here right now, on /Baltic Gaming for Twitter and Twitch and Instagram, I believe. And well, he still hasn't have a unique YouTube thingy, but he has been uploading his former Game Boy Adventure videos, VODs, to YouTube, so maybe in a bit he'll be able to get that Baltic Gaming tag on YouTube. You can find our lovely producer SprintingLegs on Twitch as SprintingLegs, Twitter as SprintingLegs, YouTube as Legs, I believe, and she also has her own website, which is SprintingLegs.com. So you can also check that out. There's some more links to her other projects on there. As for us in general, you can of course find us on gbrunner.com/TIGB, where you can also find links to all of our social media thingies. You can also find a link to our Discord there if you want to reach out to us through there. Just want to have a talk with us. It's always fun in the Discord. It's pretty chill in there. It's like not like overwhelming or anything. Sometimes we get into a little discussion about something, but most of the time it's pretty relaxing there, and you can always use that platform to ask us any questions you want, or check out what the next episodes are gonna be and ask questions specifically for that. So then they will show up during the actual episodes. Besides that, if you want to support us with your own well-earned money, there are two ways to do that. You can get to our Patreon page, patreon.com/thisisgameboypodcast. No, just This Is Game Boy. There we go. Where you can, of course, do like the monthly subscription thing starting from $1. So it doesn't even have to be much, but any help is, of course, appreciated. And you get, of course, access to some bonuses like cut content, access to our notes, access to special channels in our Discord, and things like that. We're still trying to reach that goal of $20 a month, and then we can take some time to do more live recordings of this. Like, not every episode is gonna be live, but at least we'll have a little more room to work that in. If you just want to support us one time, there's also a paypal.me link on the website, so you can also check that out. Yeah, that's pretty much it for this episode, at least. Thank you everybody for listening. Again, thank you very much to Isma or Adam Birch for answering some questions. Maybe in the future, who knows, we can actually get you on the podcast. For me, it was harder to actually invite you to be on it, which I wanted to, but again, I'm from Belgium. Now you're in the UK, or you're already back in the United States. But yeah, it wouldn't have worked out, especially not during these holidays. So yeah, maybe in the future, who knows. But yeah, again, everybody, Happy New Year. So hope you're gonna have a great rest of the year. And me and Baltic will be back in 2 weeks with a full episode, and that one will be about Maru's mission. Hope to see you then. Bye bye. Good enough.